Alright, so what we have here, guys, is the narrator describing Scrooge in stave 1. He is described as a miserable, lonely kind of character consumed by his own greed, really. He was a tight-fisted hand at the grindstone Scrooge, a squeezing, wrenching, grasping, scraping, clutching, covetous old sinner. So let's zoom in on some of this language then. He was tight-fisted. We use this today. I don't think Dickens invented it, but if you say someone, you're tight, it comes from this. It's tight-fisted. It's a visual image of a clenching fist to avoid giving away money. So you imagine you've got that money in your hand and you're clenching your fist so you don't give it away. So that's where tight comes from. You're tight-fisted. So he's a tight-fisted. Here he's not clenching into money. He's actually at the grindstone. So he's a tight-fisted hand at the grindstone. And that suggests he's obsessed with work. A grindstone is a symbol for work. It's if you've got your nose to the grindstone or you're working hard at the grindstone, it means you're working hard. It literally was a big thing that you used to grind stuff with to make flour, really. So grind wheat with to make flour. Sometimes powered by animals, walking around in a circle, a big stone, dragging it over and grinding stuff together. Sometimes a big windmill. It'll have a grindstone at the bottom. That's where you get the windmills. If you ever see a big circular piece of stone in the countryside with a hole in the middle of it, that's probably a grindstone. We don't use them anymore, but it's become a symbol, a kind of a metaphor for work. And to say he was a tight-fisted hand at the grindstone means that Scrooge is obsessed with work, or made his workers work really hard. We've then got this big long list of verbs and adjectives: squeezing, wrenching, grasping, scraping, clutching, covetous. Covetous, we're doing that one first. It means to want things belonging to others. He will never be happy. It is a sin in the Bible to be covetous, to want things that other people have. But it also means if you always want things that other people have got, you will never be happy. Guess that applies as much today as it did in Dickens's day. If we're constantly obsessed by things we see other people have, either in person or on social media or whatever, we will never be happy. And that's what he's teaching us here. Dickens was covetous, and as I say, that was a sinner. And he literally says he's a sinner, okay? So to be greedy, as we know Scrooge is, or to be covetous are both sins. Sins are for which he was punished. You've got this long list here, and I'm not going to go through every word, though you might want to zoom in on the connotations of different ones of them. But if you listen just to the list here and the sound of it: squeezing, wrenching, grasping, scraping, clutching, covetous. It sounds almost like a machine. Now, if you've watched a few of these videos about Christmas Carol, you know I'm slightly obsessed by the idea that Dickens is blaming the Industrial Revolution for lots of things. There's references to smoke and there's references to iron and stuff like that, symbols of the Industrial Revolution. Here, I think this literally sounds like a machine. Like Scrooge has been turned into a machine, or is turning his workers into his machine. And again, I think this is possibly a little link to the Industrial Revolution, with Dickens here. Dickens really, I think, blames the Industrial Revolution for a lot of the greed in society. The Industrial Revolution is when we moved out of farms and made big factories and became industrialised and moved from the countryside into the cities. It made some people incredibly rich, but it made many, many more people incredibly poor. And I think Dickens kind of blames a greedy society on industrialisation and the Industrial Revolution. So I think the sound of this, the fact that phrase sounds like a machine churning away, squeezing, wrenching, grasping, might just be in a link to the Industrial Revolution. And you can check out some of the other videos where I talk about that in other places. Bit in the context box there about the Industrial Revolution. If you want to know more, there's articles to it on the website as well. And of course, in the linked quotations box, we've got other quotations that describe Scrooge.